How's it going, guys? Today I'm just kind of showing off my, update on the Tech M16A1. But the thing is, it's no longer an M16A1, it's now an XM16E1. And I'll just kind of go over all the details and so on and so forth. But yeah, guys. So I'm going to go ahead and start off with the, the fencing for the mag release. Now, I completely filed that down, and this is pretty much what it looked like on the, XM16s. And this whole thing was a huge pain in the ass. It took me about 3 hours of just straight up filing. And even after I was done filing, I realized that because on the M16A1, this little guard piece goes all the way down. I noticed that this thing's actually kind of cut short to like the middle of the mag release, and so I had to file that down, and I actually ended up warping it a little bit. I filed a little bit too much material, and I bought some puttied that up. Then I found out that the originals kind of have this curve to it, and on the M16A1 it just kind of goes straight down, if that makes sense. I had to file that down. I used a drill to get certain angles. It was extremely difficult, and I highly suggest, if you guys are planning on doing this, just buy the proper tooling, or I guess just be prepared to have a difficult time. But overall, it was worth it, honestly. I'm really happy with how this looks. You never see anybody with XM16, so that's really cool. Slightly above that, I put in an original dust cover. Now, the difference between the WeTech ones and the real ones is that the WeTech ones, I believe, are A1 dust covers, and I guess, to the trained eye, it's a pretty noticeable detail, so I swapped that out, and overall I'm pretty happy how that's come out. I guess a little word of advice is that if you're planning on doing this, be prepared to just always have the dust cover open, because I don't know why, I'm assuming that this part is just way too worn out or something like that, but it won't stay closed, so that's just kind of a thing I guess you're gonna have to live with. But yeah, there's that. A few smaller details is that I removed that that groove that was on the front sides. Earlier models didn't have them, and I guess it's just more of a noticeable thing to guys that actually have real M16s. But there's that. Filed that part down. I painted this swivel. I can't even think of the proper name, so I apologize for that. But I painted it black, glossy black, because the originals were actually coated in plastic. I might honestly just buy an original, but this looks pretty authentic. But yeah, there's that. Here's the 3-prong flash hider. This thing was a huge pain in the ass. It might have honestly been more of a pain in the ass than the lower receiver. And so I bought this thing off eBay, right? And when it came in with this lug nut thing printed on with it. And this thing's 3D printed. I don't know if I already said that, but it came with this lug nut thing printed with it. I cut that thing off instinctively, and it turns out that beyond that point, there's no threading whatsoever, and the barrel actually decreases in size. So I actually had to drill the inside so it would fit the barrel. That took forever. That was extremely hard, and in the progress of that, I actually lost all 3 of these. They all broke off and shit, and I was super pissed. But I epoxied all of them on kind of half-assed. I used glue to keep them in place, and then epoxied around them. Recently, one of them broke, and I completely covered that thing up with epoxy, and that thing's holding up pretty well. However, the ones that aren't reinforced, here's one of them, I guess. This one is breaking. This is the only one breaking so far, but I'm pretty sure the other one's going to break here pretty soon. But pretty pissed about that, I spent like maybe around, I don't know, like 5 hours non-stop working on this thing. But yeah, something I guess I have to live with, I guess, until I get a better replacement that's made out of metal or some shit, or something that looks similar to, I guess, a 3-prong. But here's the D-type stock. I believe that's the name for it. Really cool. I got this in the mail, really cheap. I didn't really spend too much money on it. It's an original, as you guys can tell, because it's just super destroyed, I guess, or salty. Not really salty, but worn out, if that makes sense. But yeah, the big negative to this stock is that the swivel right here is just completely rusted shut. And you know, some of you guys are thinking like, oh, you know, just oil it or whatever. Well, this thing is just so rusted to where if I oiled it, it would just fall apart. Like, look at those, like, look at that thing, man. That thing is like skeletal, like it's barely keeping its shape. Like, I'm pretty sure that ping that was originally in there is now part of that like entire guard, if that makes sense. So I'm just gonna buy a Brown Owls version. You know, this thing is just kind of a filler for now. And then on top of that, the threading to the screw that's supposed to be there is all fucked up, and I don't have a screw in there, and this thing's literally on by friction. This thing was a real tight fit, so I guess I don't need a screw. But yeah, that's pretty much it. What other details? I bought a, I guess, early war sling for the entire setup, but I can't use it until I buy a new stock for the gun. But this is pretty much my XM16 E1 conversion, I guess, from, you know, the WeTech. Overall, it was extremely difficult, and if you guys are planning on doing this, you know, be prepared to spend a lot of time on this thing, because it was really hard, and it took maybe a good, you know, altogether it took me like maybe like 3 days of work. But yeah, guys, this is pretty much the M16, and I'll see you guys around.